Okay, we're gonna try this again, only this time do it happier and with your mouth open. Weskerbeard Part 2. Hi again all. I hope you've been well since my last post. Well, hopefully more than I have been. The flu is a real pain in the butt, especially when that same butt ain't doing so well. Anyway, been recovering and watching some ReddX videos and compilations, and while doing so, Sapphire made the comment that I should probably describe Weskerbeard a little bit more. So here is a bit more of an in-depth description of him before I get into the story. Enjoy!
That's what we've been waiting for!
Firstly, Weskerbeard wasn't an overweight, atypical neckbeard. He was an average size, but he definitely had the scruffy neck fluff that looked very similar to glued on hair from down there. His skin was a light tone when it was clean, but that rarely happened. So most of the time it was an off-color orange from dirt and nicotine, as he was a heavy smoker of very cheap cigarettes that he washed down with even cheaper energy drinks. Emerge. I don't know about that energy drink, but I do know he was probably smoking some Pall Malls. The orange color might also be from Cheetos, a little bit perhaps. But yes, these energy drinks were his lifeblood, and he would down about 4 of these bad boys every single day. God, you poor kidneys. As for his attire, it mainly consisted of anything that he could wear under his floor-length trench coat, but even that wasn't much because he would rather buy cigarettes or energy drinks or video games. One time, Sapphire invited him into her parents' home, even though her father hated him. This is one of the reasons she dated him, mainly to go against her dad. Oh yeah, tale as old as time. He hated him because of his smell, and the fact that he would walk through fresh dog pee in the garden, and his coat would trail through it, and bring it into her mom and dad's house. So as you can imagine, this would often annoy her father. His smell was bad enough though that even when he wasn't tracking dog pee into the house, Sapphire's dad would walk in and take a quick smell and say bluntly, "You've had that smelly boy again in here, haven't you?" to Sapphire, which of course would cause an argument. These types of arguments were a normal thing for Sapphire and her dad. Eventually tempers flared too much and money problems led to more arguments. And in the end, Sapphire did end up moving in with Weskerbeard. Bro, not worth it. I understand wanting to stand on your own 2 feet, get out into the world and make a life for yourself, but not like this. Not like this. Now, Weskerbeard did not live alone, as we saw. No, dear reader, he was the sort of person that liked the easy life of mommy and daddy's house. Him and all 4 of his brothers did as well. Well, this is where the neckbeard nest was rampant to the point of being a goddamn health risk to all the occupants living there, and I have first-hand experience of this Nurgle grotto, as I visited it myself a few times, so everything I tell you is from mine and Sapphire's memory. I gotta say, the pacing of this story, way better, Quantum Mick. I don't know what happened between part 1 and part 2, but it's just a revelation. We did get a sneak peek into the nest from Sapphire's part 1, but I'd be interested to hear OP's view as well. So first, in case you're wondering why Sapphire ever even dated Weskerbeard in the first place, it was because his best friend, the same one who came to meet me with Sapphire and him, was the one who chatted her up for him, as all his chat lines were about as useful as a ripped rubber. Pair that fact with the fact that Sapphire wasn't really interested at all in dating, but just like the ocean can erode away the sides of a cliff, he did so to her will and her patience. At this point, unfortunately, Sapphire was suffering from low self-esteem, which stemmed from her old school times of being bullied and her family environment. Yes, we know this well. Neckbeards are nothing if not persistent. Sapphire did tell me, though, that when she first started to talk with him, he and his friend tried to impress Sapphire by trying to convince her that they were both assassins. Oh yeah, I remember. These 2 idiots were both adults by this time, not children, and they kept this up for a whole year with her. When she told me in front of them, both of them tried to convince me too, but I was having none of that. and I laughed my butt off saying, "Go screw, you cannot be for real. And how old are you again?" And to this day, I'm pretty sure they probably still try this same pickup line. I think calling it a pickup line is rather generous. It's just weirdos being real weird. Well, to get back to the main story now, the first time I was invited to his house was a few weeks after meeting up again with him and chatting more on Facebook. I also became friends with Weskerbeard and gamed with him sometimes on the PlayStation, and this is when I found out that he had a liking for online roleplay. So when it came to talking to him outside, he would often talk about his OCs, the first of which was a totally badass black anthro wolf. No hate on the furry community because my OC was a timber wolf, but with none of the whole gun-toting edgelord who's so super cool he could dodge bullets Matrix style, which is what Axel, Weskerbeard's OC, was named. Yeah, he could totally do that. Whereas Sapphire's was a blue tiger mage in the stories who could die, so she always played the character as if it was D&D, as did I with my OC. Okay, feels like we're losing the plot a little bit, but I'm still with you. Maybe it'll all loop back in. Weskerbeard says, "You know, Axel can either cut the bullets out of the air or shoot them, and if need be, then he can dodge them. How about you, OP?" OP? Well, I'd probably just try to keep my head down so I don't get shot. And this kind of thinking didn't go on for very long, so I copied the fighting style of Dante from Devil May Cry, but with more of my own twist to it. So mine and Sapphire's OC worked together well, but Weskerbeard's had to be the main character, of course. But I'll talk more about RPs in another story if anybody's interested in them.
It's definitely a no for me, dog.
Now to get back to my first time in the Neckbeard nest, well, it was a sight to see. Clothing was scattered around the floors, mixed in with food and trash, plus the carpets looked paper thin from how long they'd been there. And of course they had stains, many stains, burn marks from cigarette ash and other things that I couldn't even identify on them as well. And this is when I first met Weskerbeard's father, who was a dirty old man slouched in his chair that had seen much better days, playing the Legacy of Kain on an old PlayStation 2. We're gonna call him Trotter, as his toenails were so long and dirty that they reminded us of a pig's hoof. Trotter, "It's me, Mac. It's good to meet you." OP, "Yeah, good to meet you too. What are you playing?" Trotter, "This is Legacy of Kain. Have you ever played it before?" OP, "No, I haven't. Is it any good?" To which he looked at me in shock and said, Yeah, it's real good." And he went on talking about the game, to which Weskerbeard came downstairs to meet me and talk to his father, all while Sapphire tried to clean up the room somewhat on her own. Weskerbeard then brought me upstairs so I could see Sapphire. I passed one closed door that belonged to Weskerbeard's older brother, who was an okay guy, but yeah, pretty weird in his own right. In the second room were his two younger brothers that I used to go to school with. Again, one was okay, but the other was just an absolute douche, and that's the one we named Rage Baby, as he used to get real aggressive with everyone and loved to push people's buttons. Now this specimen was a pure neckbeard, who thought that his size and disabilities meant that he was allowed to get angry at people and then hit them whenever he wanted to. These were his own words, and some of the first that he spoke to me after meeting him again after so many years. Bro, one of these days he's gonna come across the wrong one. Just get his ass handed to him. I look forward to that day. From one of my conversations with him, when he tried to put my buttons, I was doing it right back at him. OP, "Hey, Rage Baby, it's been donkey's years since I seen you, mate," I said cheerfully. Rage Baby, "What do donkeys have to do with it?" he replied with a smirk. So I decided to give it to him right back. OP, "They've been there and gone, mate," I said, gesturing to his door. "You should have kept your eyes open." Now, dear reader, I know this seems like a pretty crap comeback after what he said to me about his aggression and this being my first meeting again. I chose not to say, "Your mom's downstairs if you're looking for a donkey, mate." But no, I chose to think first and keep my mouth shut. I mean, don't insult the woman in her own house. I think that is a good move. But there are plenty of other, better ways to get back at him. Even just staring at him really hard, implying that he's the donkey, you know? Anyway, on to getting into his room that he shared with his other brother, and Sapphire, who was getting sick of living like this and wanted her own house, either on her own or with Weskerbeard. Well, this beard had his moments of being strange, but most people would forgive him for the strangeness because he wasn't able to walk properly and needed a wheelchair to assist him, but this did not stop his sheer nosiness. He always wanted to know what it was you were up to at any given time, to the point of dragging himself across the floor to listen in on a conversation that we were having, and the only thing that stopped him was a curtain that Sapphire had hung around their bed to get some privacy. The curtain ain't gonna do all that much if dude's crawling around on the floor, I guess. What you need to do is accidentally step on his neck. No, probably don't do that. Often, Sapphire could hear him at night, watching adult videos by himself. Now, this was nothing new in the house, because before Sapphire had moved in, they all shared a computer room under the stairs, like a bunch of hobo Harry Potters. You could imagine the state of this room when it came time to clean it out, because both the computer and the floor were used as an ashtray for cigarettes, while behind the computer was used as a trash area. Jesus, you guys are animals. That poor PC. You know how many more FPS you'd get if your computer could just, like, breathe? But no, this was all mild compared to the pair of trousers that was found in there. Well, when boys are alone and need to, clean themselves, they sometimes use a sock. But no, this was a shared pair of trousers for just that occasion. Shared pair? Dude, I'm so done. What are you talking about? And oh my God. From what Sapphire told me, these poor pants held their shape when kicked by her. By the sound of it, you could have thrown these things at the wall and I bet they would have just completely shattered. When being told this, I was mortified, but I couldn't do anything but laugh. Yeah, I do have a sick sense of humor, but from what she found on the computer, files of Weskerbeard, it made her start to question his likes. Now, who here remembers a little show called Ben 10?
It's hero time! Oh, Jesus Christ!
Do you remember Ben 10's cousin, by any chance? I don't. I'm sorry, OP. I'm too old for Ben 10. Well, I bet you can probably guess who was featured in one of his materials that Sapphire demanded that he delete, which Weskerbeard did, but with much grumbling about having to do so. Well, I hope this all hasn't put you off your food too much, and if it has, well, my apologies, reader, but I'll leave it here for now, and next time I'll tell you of when I first stepped foot into his room and felt the carpet grab my shoe. And the following times that I visited, as down the line he does get even worse somehow. But until then, I hope y'all stay well and that you enjoyed the story. Your OP, Mick. What an absolute transformation between the first story and the second. Sapphire obviously has a very positive influence on this OP and his writing style. I probably didn't need to say any of the things that I said in the first video. If I had read the second part and knew that it all turned around and approached the point more quickly, then yeah, I wouldn't have much to say at all. This is good cringe. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, OP. There's a couple parts where you lose me, but overall, yeah, I follow what's going on and I love to hate it. So let's check out Sapphire's side and we'll see what happens over there right now. Living with Weskerbeard Part 2. Hello, I'm back with Part 2 of Living with Weskerbeard. Still typing on mobile, so if formatting's off, well, that's why. Last time I told you a little bit about how, or more like why, I ended up with Weskerbeard. Cast in the story, yeah, that's pretty much the same, so let's get into it. After my first visit to Weskerbeard's house, I was fairly taken aback by what I had seen. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but I didn't want to judge Weskerbeard just on the state of the house. Yeah, the state of the house, that's true, is just an indicator, but pair the state of the house with all of the other indicators. I'm pretty sure we're seeing red flags. I put the fact that he had basically leapt over me and his friend for a PlayStation 3 down to him just being excited over it, as his friend wasn't too bothered by it. I headed off home and didn't really mention him to anyone. Dad, why do you smell smoke? Me, unsure of what to say, not really wanting to tell him anything. Oh, I was talking to a friend at college. They were talking with another friend at the smoker's shelter, so I was just there for a while. He seemed to accept this response, and internally, I sighed a sigh of relief. My dad was strict, and I didn't want to say anything that would set him off. I went upstairs and got changed to avoid any more awkwardness. I mean, is he strict? Yeah, from the 2 parts that we know, but he seems like he runs a tight ship, and I do admire that. Anyways, OP didn't talk to Weskerbeard for about a day or so. Yeah, I had agreed to have him as a boyfriend, but this was my first one. I had never had one before, and I didn't even really know what to do with one. I was at college on my dinner break when I saw that familiar tattered trench coat sweeping its way towards me. I rewrapped my food and looked over. Weskerbeard. Hey, Sapphire. I haven't seen you in a couple days. You aren't avoiding me, are you? He asked, twisting his scruffy little soul patch between his fingers, which he had freshly gnawed the nails off of. OP. No, I'm not avoiding you. I've just been busy these past few days with college stuff. I'm just on dinner break. Did you want to get something to eat? Weskerbeard. Oh, that's good that you aren't avoiding me, he said with a small laugh. I caught a flash of his teeth. They were a grayish yellow, and black lined the spaces in between them. Oh, God. Oh, dental horror always gets me. Why? You only get one set of teeth. Please take care of them. Weskerbeard says, I can't get anything at the moment. I don't have any money. I felt a little bad that he couldn't get himself anything, so I offered him what I had left, which he took with a quick, thanks. OP, so what are you up to in town then? I watched as food went into his mouth. He proceeded to chew with his mouth open. The sound largely resembled macaroni and cheese in a washing machine. Honestly, I don't know how he even managed that feat, because what he was eating was a crispy bacon sandwich. He secretes his own mayonnaise from his salivary glands. Weskerbeard says, I wasn't staying in town. I'm done here now. You caught me on the way home, he said with his mouth full between chews. I've just been to Granger Games, he said, finishing the food that I had given him. OP, were you just looking for something new for when you get some money? Weskerbeard. Nah, I bought myself some new games, he said, producing a small bright orange bag. OP, I thought you said you didn't have any money. Weskerbeard. Nah, I had money. I just spent it. I had to go take the rest to my mother for board, he said wetly, licking around his teeth and mouth. Yeah, there you go, priorities. Eating's overrated anyways. I was annoyed by this revelation, and I sighed a little. I looked at him, and then at the game bag, and then at my watch. OP, well, I can't stop. I gotta get back to college. Weskerbeard. All right, it was nice bumping into you, babe. Babe. He was about to set off, and then he stopped again. Hey, babe, do you have a way to get in contact? Bro, that's how you can immediately tell how fake this relationship is. Yeah, I'm your boyfriend, you're my girlfriend, but I also have no way of contacting you. This is stupid. OP said, well, I could give you my email, and then you could find me on Facebook. That's slick right there. Don't give him the phone number for sure. Weskerbeard says, that sounds good. I'll add you when I get home. I gave him my email address and he went off on his way. I went and got something else to eat before going back to the college. When I got home, there wasn't anything on my Facebook or my email, and I didn't really mind that fact. I still wasn't big on the whole social thing anyway. Later on at 10 p.m., I got a notification. Weskerbeard. Hey, babe. This is Weskerbeard. Just making sure I have the right person. I added him and let him know that it was definitely me. I kept looking through Facebook and talked with him on MSN for a little while. We communicated like this for a few days. I mean, on the bright side, at least you really don't have to interact with him all that much. You can walk away from the screen at any point. After a few days of this, he tried talking to me in person again, but with it being late, I didn't have much time to talk to him. I had to get going so I could get ready for college the next day. The college day ended early, and I went to the library to use the computers. When I got home, my dad was looking at me with a face like thunder. Uh-oh. Now we get to see where he falls on the line of being protective or controlling. Dad says, "Where have you been?" OP, college. Dad, bullshit. OP, college finished early, so I went to the library. Dad, sure you haven't been sneaking off to see your boyfriend? He slammed a printout of my MSN conversations down in front of me. Bro, you just got Chris Hansen.
Why don't you have a seat?
He had installed a keylogger on my laptop and read through my messages. Luckily, there wasn't anything adult going on in our conversations. Thank God he only waffled on about games and movies with me most of the time. I looked at the paper and then at my dad, not knowing what to say or do. How about lay down the law? I'm in college, I'm an adult, I can have a boyfriend if I want. Then he's like, not under my roof, and then you move out. Then maybe you become estranged, or maybe he gets his stuff together and realizes that his daughter is her own person. But outside of that hypothetical, in the here and now, OP says, in a panic, it's nothing serious, we just talk. Dad, nothing serious? Serious enough for him to call you babe all the time? I headed off upstairs and sat in my room. I glared daggers at my laptop. Luckily, nothing much happened the next day, but my parents and myself were invited around to our neighbor's house for a few drinks. We'll call them NGF and NBF. Neighbor girlfriend, neighbor boyfriend? That makes sense to me. Neighbor girlfriend. So I saw you talking with Weezybeard the other day. OP. Yeah, he kept asking me out. Neighbor girlfriend. Are you gonna go out with him? OP. I sort of am. Mom. You have a boyfriend. OP. Sort of. Neighbor boyfriend. Weskerbeard. Isn't that one of them from that trampy lot around the corner? Neighbor girlfriend. Yeah, but don't be mean. He doesn't seem that bad compared to the rest of them. Mom. So who is it then? I explained how I had met Weskerbeard through his brother and how persistent he was when chasing after me. My mom thought that was sweet, that he had shown that much interest in me. Oh, we're skipping right past concerning and going to sweet, are we, mother? Okay, fine. Neighbor boyfriend. Why don't you ask him if he wants to come around for a drink? I sat still and looked at him for a second. Then my mom and neighbor girlfriend encouraged me to go and get him. OP. I don't know. He says he doesn't like to go out that much. Which he had said. It wasn't just an excuse to avoid inviting him around. Although conveniently it was also that. But like always, persistent pestering and nagging and asking, and they broke me down, and I agreed. I got up and walked around the corner to Weskerbeard's parents' house. It was here that I met his fourth brother, Judgybeard. Judgybeard was about the only decent one in the house. He was like a tall dwarf in shape and build. Like his brothers, his face was surrounded by a bristly, unkempt bush. He, unlike the others, however, knew what going outside was, for anything other than cigarettes and games. Judgybeard, confused. Oh, hi? OP. Hi, is Weskerbeard here? Judgybeard. He's upstairs playing on the PlayStation 3 with me. I could go get him if you want to come in and wait. I nodded, thanked him, and went in to wait for Weskerbeard to come downstairs. The clothes pile still stretched out into the walkway. As a matter of fact, more clothes seemed to have joined it. The clothes dryer was piled up and surrounded with a beard of its own of random clothes and papers. Weskerbeard, "Hey, babe, what did you need?" OP, "My parents and neighbors are having a few drinks," I started. They asked if you want to join them," I said, getting a little bit quieter. Weskerbeard, "I would, but I haven't got anybody, and I'm playing a game with Judgy Beard." OP, "They said you could have some of their drinks." Weskerbeard's ears almost visibly perked up. "If that's the case, I'll come out for a couple. I don't drink that often. Just let me go turn the game off and get ready." I waited while he, like a greyhound, shot off at the prospect of free drinks. He was upstairs for a few minutes before returning, still in the same clothes that he had been wearing prior. Dude, what did you do to get ready? Just like spritz of Axe body spray? Weskerbeard put on that tatty jacket again. "Lead the way, babe." Ugh. I walked with him back to where everyone was, letting him know the names of everybody that was there. Neighbor girlfriend, "Hi, OP, Weskerbeard." Weskerbeard, "Hello, you must be neighbor girlfriend," he said, taking her hand to shake it. I'm honestly surprised that he didn't kiss her hand. Although, maybe if neighbor boyfriend wasn't there watching him, he might have tried it. He also said hello to my parents and neighbor boyfriend as I went to sit down again. Dad, "So, what is it you do then?" Weskerbeard, "I'm a professional gamer, and I make YouTube videos with my friend Anime Boy." You ain't gotta lie to kick it, bro. Come on. Dad, looking very unimpressed, says, "What?" Weskerbeard pulls up a seat. "Yeah, I'm a gamer. I like acting too. I want to get into that at some point." Jesus Christ, dude. I encourage like any direction for your life. Just start moving somewhere. While he was drinking, he talked most of the time about gaming and a little bit about his YouTube videos. After about an hour or so, he said that he had to get going, said his goodbyes, and went home. Mom, to me, "He seems nice. If he makes you happy, you should go for it." OP, "It's still a little early for all that. We just talk online mostly." Dad, condescendingly, "I don't know what you see in him, calling himself a gamer like it's something to be proud of. In other words, he's a lazy do-nothing." I mean, I'm somewhat of a gamer myself, but Dad does have a point. It's not exactly constructive, is it? And OP says, "I won't lie, it did irritate me hearing Dad talk about Weskerbeard like that, and knowing that my dad didn't like him sparked a little thought within my mind." I do understand where you're going, but at the end, you're not really punishing your dad, you're mostly punishing yourself. My dad wasn't all that great with me growing up. He could go from a decent person to outright maltreating me at the flip of a switch. The fact that he didn't like Weskerbeard made me even more determined to get with Weskerbeard. This self-sabotage is pretty sad. Over the next couple of days, me and Weskerbeard became a little bit more of a thing. My dad was getting angrier, especially since that thick, smoky odor would linger well after Weskerbeard had left. He hadn't stayed long. Usually he'd come by just in passing while doing a quick errand for his mother. Dad, "You've had that smelly boy around again, haven't you?" OP, "He stopped by, but not for long." Dad, "I told you not to have him around here." And then Dad would have a go and complain all about Weskerbeard, all the while my mom kept encouraging me behind his back. The hell is this? Y'all need to get on the same team. One day I was at home, a day off of college, and my dad was doing some work on his car. While I was in the kitchen, I noticed through the gaps in the fence, Weskerbeard heading towards the garden gate. I went to answer the door and stood outside with Weskerbeard. He said, "Hey, babe, me and Judgy Beard are going up to the shops. And fancy coming out for a bit?" Dad, "What the hell is he doing here?" OP, "He's only asking if I want to go up to the shops with him." Dad, "You're supposed to be helping me with the car." I told Weskerbeard that I'd have to leave it for today. He nodded and headed back through the garden gate. As he did so, he stepped over a puddle of dog pee in his path. His tattered coat, however, did not. It swept across the path, dragging through the puddle, and my dad looked ticked off once more. Dad, "So he not only stinks, he's dragging around dog pee into my house as well?" Yes. I ignored him though, and kept doing what I was told to do, fetching tools and holding parts. After a while of me going out with Weskerbeard, my dad attempted to make some sort of bridge. It was more like popsicle sticks, PVA glue, and paper mache, but it was sort of a bridge nonetheless. He allowed Weskerbeard to come around and join in as we all played Guitar Hero while he was out. And he had to be gone before Dad got back, and we were having a good time. Weskerbeard finished singing, and my little sister wanted the microphone next. Little sister bluntly, "What's the microphone smell?" Weskerbeard, "I'm sorry, that might be my fault. My breath does smell a little bit. I can't help it though," he said, trying to laugh it off. Dude, if you know it's an issue, why aren't you doing something about it? She handed me the microphone and opted to play guitar instead. A wise choice. After a few rounds, Weskerbeard realized that he had no cigs left and said he was going to go home for the night. I saw him to the gate and gave the room a spray with air freshener to try and help keep the peace with Dad. A few days later, as I had been brought up since the age of 6, a Jehovah's Witness, 2 elders came to visit. Word had gotten back to them that I had gotten a boyfriend and that he was not a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, honestly, I don't care if he's Jehovah's Witness or not, just make him be human. Weskerbeard didn't have any religious affiliations. He tried to make out that he was a Satanist. He was as much of a Satanist as he was an assassin, but I guess being a Satanist sounded like cool and totally edgy, I guess. I'm counterculture demon, whoa. Either way, these 2 Jehovah's Witness elders decided to give me the talk. How it was wrong, how it was dangerous to have a worldly partner, how if I continued to go out with him, I would have my door-knocking rights revoked, as I would be a hypocrite if I had a non-witness boyfriend. Before they left, I was told by Keith, "I expect a phone call tomorrow before 6 p.m. from you, telling me you broke it off with him. If I don't, we'll just assume you chose to ignore our warnings." Well, that's ominous. To be fair, 12 years later, they are still waiting for that phone call. Maybe I should call him up and tell him that I broke it off 10 years ago. And now, to the final straw that broke the camel's back, the reason that I ended up living at Weskerbeard's parents' house. Things had not gone well between Weskerbeard and my dad. That papier-mâché bridge had dissolved. Arguments regarding how Weskerbeard was still stinking up the place, and he was again stopped from coming around. My dad was threatening to kick me out into a hostel. I was actively looking for a place of my own at this time. I'm still going to bat for Dad, alright? He did try to build that bridge. He thought Weskerbeard might be able to change, be a little bit less stinky when he sees how it upsets people, but he kept on keeping on, so okay. Now we must do what we must do, and also, I guess, OP has to do what she's got to do. It's all part of growing up, it's fine, I think. The job center told me that I was to take part in one of their schemes to get people working. I'd been told that I was going to receive some papers through the mail. I was to be given a placement at a charity shop to get some work experience, and these papers never came. I couldn't get in contact with anyone, and there were several charity shops on the road that I was meant to go to. I received a sanction, and my payments were cut in half. I'm pretty sure there was no papers, they're just trying to get cheap labor out of you. My dad chewed me out over this and wouldn't listen to anything that I had to say. I got to the garden gate and he kept on at me. Dad, if you walk out of that gate, you don't come back in here. So after everything, I decided I was out. I left and went over to Weskerbeard's and told him everything that had happened. He talked to Hog, who reluctantly agreed that I could stay if need be. My dad dropped off my stuff at the house in boxes. Some of my stuff was broken and just thrown in. I mean, yeah, that sucks, but also you're basically bringing it into a dump, so... you think it's bad now? Just wait a year. That stuff's gonna be unrecognizable. I know there wasn't all that much cringe, but now we're caught up as to why I ended up in the nest. It can only get better, right? Right? Someone say right. Next time, there will be more details of the house and life in there. I know this part might come across like a bit of a pity parade, and that's not my intent. The next one won't digress as far from the beards as this one did. Thanks again for reading, and see you next time in part number 3. It always breaks me up to see families fall apart like this. And over a beard? Really? God damn. OP should have let that one go, but she was just so determined to take her stand and be her own person. And Dad couldn't loosen his grip enough to let her do that, so I'm not entirely surprised at the way that it went, but yeah, it is sad to see. At least in my opinion. Maybe some people will be like, he's super possessive, ReddX, how could you say that? Well, you know, opinions, whatever. First impression. As a dad, of course I'm gonna defend dads. That's how it works. But regardless, I hope that you enjoyed the video, friends. If you did, like, comment, sub, maybe share it around. That would be pretty cool. Check out the links in the description. Many things. Twitch, Twitter, Discord, TikTok, whatever. Thank you to my Patreon patrons, my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous YouTube channel members. Please join up if you are able. If not, that's cool. I mean, you came here, you listened this far. That's the real MVP play. So please come on back tomorrow and keep yourself safe out there and wash your hand. But most importantly, friends, always remember that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it. And I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.